Summary of the events for Karmello Anthony is crazy. This is according to the official police reports. Trespasses another team's tent, told to leave. Stabbed and killed a kid in response. Black people raised $500,000 in legal defense. DEI judge reduces bail. Parents buy a new mansion with legal defense money.
Well, I'm awake. Sorry, guys. So, real quick, because I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't like to. No, I don't want to bitch and moan on this show. I really don't. But I didn't even recognize the point about how long I'd been up until later, and it's like, getting past the day and a half mark of being awake straight. I mean, I don't have Trump's energy. I wish I did, but I don't. But the other thing that really is, it's been sticking out in my head the whole time, because I swear I have no idea how this happened, and this was probably the most profound time this ever happened, because I've done this before. If you've seen the show and you've seen me get tired, you know the warning signs. they're obvious, and I remember those kind of starting, like the sentences cutting off and kind of like forgetting to keep speaking, but I don't ever remember, because I got to tell you, I started the stream, and I swear, I was like excited. I didn't feel the least bit fatigued. I didn't feel droopy eyed. I didn't feel anything. I felt excited as hell. I was really stoked to be doing the episode. I was feeling fine. I just felt like the other 2 days I'd done streams or the last 3 days, it was no different. And so I get the part that I was definitely pushing it with the sleep, but for it to be so spontaneous feeling, to the point that when I woke up, and I have no idea how it ended up on Be Right Back. I don't know if I just full transparency here. I've been known to kind of move about in my sleep, and I've also been known to sleep talk on occasion, but I know I didn't push it consciously, so I have no idea how I ended up on the Be Right Back screen, but I'm glad I did, because at least it made some sense. But the whole circumstance of that entire thing just seems so weird to me, especially because, like I said, I have no idea how I went from feeling totally and completely alert and excited to do the show to just a steady, slow, and then just a complete drop off the cliff. Like, I don't know what happened, but I do know when I woke up, I was really confused for a second, and then I thought, wait, what was I doing? And I was screaming, and then I popped my head up, and of course, it was so. I was like, "Oh my God! Oh Jesus, geez." So yeah, that I just had to mention that. I mean, maybe I do have narcolepsy. I have no idea. It's starting to seem more probable, because honestly, it doesn't seem like the times my body needs sleep seems to be, pretty normal, as far as like. By the time I get exhausted to where I can't keep my eyes open anymore, it's going to make a strong enough impact that I'm not going to be able to stay awake. But as far as my general amount of energy or alertness goes, depending on the circumstance, that's definitely going to have an effect on whether or not I'm going to be feeling that or not, apparently. And that's what's really got me confused. So Like I said, I'm not going to drone on about it anymore. I just wanted to make mention of it. I'm really sorry about that. That was my bad, of course. I wanted to do the show yesterday, but I was actually, to be honest, I was so confused still about the whole thing. And there's a few things going on that just were made like, hold on, just take a day off. And I don't want to take a day off, but I mean, just take a day where you're not thinking about it for a little bit and try to relax, and then come back when you're ready to do it. Because it was so weird. This one was a really weird one. I know I've had a lot of unusual stuff happen for as long as I've been doing frame advantage, but this one kind of takes the cake, to be honest, for me at least. I don't know about on the other end, but either way, there you have it. So now, as far as the video goes, I am without a doubt still doing the subject that I was going to cover because it's just too good. And as I mentioned in the description box, if anything, it's even more important to do it now than it was before, because there have been a series of events that I can only imagine are there because of the the perceived poor Karmello Anthony's plight. Maybe not the judge. The judge, it's reasonable for. I heard it broken down this way. $1 million is a lot for a kid that's under 18, has no criminal record of actual serious crime. Is not known, as a particular. I mean, there were those accounts of him being kind of a hothead, but nothing serious on his record that would point to him being dangerous. And those all should be considered when setting bail. And on top of that, he's a kid. He doesn't have any money. He's not going to really be able to facilitate, ditching out on bail, especially if he's with his parents while he's on bail. So while I understand lowering the bail, to lower it by 75%, I think that's a little bit of a sign that there's some questionable motives there. And the other thing is the father stating that, first I heard him saying that he didn't know how to get it out of, or he couldn't get it out of the Gifts and Go account yet, or something like that, which is ridiculous because I would imagine even if you can't, you can at least show them you have available assets to use as collateral or something. And since he would be at low risk for bail jumping, or is it bail jumping? Bail hopping? Bail skipping? I can't remember what the term is. Either way, he's not going to skip his court hearing or his court dates. So anyway, but here's the part that really is insane. So they lowered the amount to an amount that's below what they've already received in donations from all the race hustlers and suckers in the country who want to blame everything on racism every time anything happens to a black guy, no matter what it is. If it's bad, it's because of racism. If it's good, it's because they overcame racism. I mean, there's always, it always has something to do with racism for the race hustlers, of course, because it's in their description. But the real kicker is, as you heard mentioned briefly in that intro clip, Benny Thompson talking about what has the Anthony family been doing with all that money? Well, they apparently picked up an extremely expensive house that was something like $900,000, I think, in a suburb in Texas that is in a gated community with upper class Texas families, and some of the neighbors are a little uncomfortable because of a guy that just murdered a kid living next to them now. But if that wasn't enough, Karmello needed something. Probably, I'm sure he was in great distress and he really needed something for some me time. So he went out and what's a car for if it's gonna help your mental health, then just go get the car. So he got himself a brand new car that's sitting in the. I mean, talk about fucking just like the disrespect to everyone, anyone. I swear, Austin Metcalf's father showed nothing but respect and was not judgmental at all, and made a point to state he was not judgmental at all of Karmello Anthony. I mean, doesn't really matter. The rest of society is, and no matter what he said, they're going to say his son was racist. So, and it's really interesting to hear the comparisons that come out, which is why this one today is really a big one. I'm telling you, I'm so excited for this one today. I'm gonna get to it in just a second because I can't wait. I'm so stoked about doing this one. But first, just a couple things. First off, the comparisons to fucking Kyle Rittenhouse need to stop. And I'm sorry to get into the colorful language that quick, but I swear I followed the Rittenhouse situation really, really close. I pretty much, anytime I heard any kind of new information about it, I always tried to make sure I kept myself up to date on what was going on. That was absolutely one of the most despicable acts by any state prosecution I've ever seen. But to compare that to Karmello Anthony, yeah, man, geez, can you believe that that someone would, someone who was already arrested, just got out of prison, would come up to Karmello Anthony after he had been in prison for sexual assault of a minor, and then when he couldn't get back into his ex-girlfriend's apartment because she had a restraining order on him, he decided to go down and terrorize just a group of people that were just minding their own business and not doing anything. They were just having a good time and enjoying their local community event, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this nut job comes out and threatens, actually, literally threatens Karmello Anthony's life, says he's going to kill him today, and then proceeds to light a bunch of dumpsters on fire and push them around all over the place, in the area, and turn the area into a gigantic disaster zone that's completely out of control, and no one knows how to contain the situation, and then the opportunity presents itself, of course, and poor Karmello Anthony finds himself getting chased down by this violent guy, and then it reaches a head, and even when Karmello Anthony produces his weapon and shows it to the assailant and says, "I'm armed, I have a weapon, I don't want to use this, but if you make me, I will have no choice." And of course, this guy is so racist and evil that he's seeing nothing but red when he sees that weapon, and he, in a fit of rage, actually, shockingly, tries to take the weapon from him and ends up getting attacked and ultimately killed in the process. And poor Karmello Anthony for having to... Wait, no, I'm sorry. Those were the fucking Kyle Rittenhouse circumstances. Nothing at all like that happened with Karmello Anthony. Karmello Anthony wasn't standing watch over local businesses. Karmello Anthony wasn't trying to protect his local community from a bunch of unruly, unlawful, lunatic fucking vagrants that just decided, hey, let's just burn everything to the ground because we don't like what's going on with a guy that freaking was a multiple felon and was arrested and died in the process. We're going to just destroy the whole country because of that. And now, how about this? How about this instead? Then we can have a guy who just gets out of prison go run up to the kids that are, the young kids that are protecting this business, which we'd love to burn that business down, but those damn kids out there with their guns, they've outsmarted us. Let's scare them. Hey, you pedo, go scare that kid. Tell him you're gonna kill him. So the pedo goes over, tells him he's gonna kill him, and of course I'm sure Kyle was not happy about that. He was probably pretty nervous about that, and he especially was nervous when the fucking guy started chasing him down with another crowd behind him. And guess what? I'm not kidding when I say he reached for it, because there was a muzzle flash, burn from muzzle flash on his hand that was found during the autopsy, meaning he had his hand over the barrel and he was trying to get the weapon away from Kyle when he got shot. I'm sorry, there's not one self-defense instructor in the world that would tell you if someone is trying to take your fucking gun from you to just let them have the gun. Or to not, that's like the most clear, that's rule number one, I would imagine, of what to do for gun safety rules of when you feel like you're in danger, and one clear-cut case where you would not be charged with any kind of crime because you were clearly protecting yourself, and not just yourself. God knows what this fucking lunatic would have done with the rifle. So, and then it was real cute. I talked about this on the other episode, and the mob following him down the street. Which, by the way, Kyle actually went straight to a police blockade to try to turn himself in. The police department in Kenosha decided, we don't want. You're going to have to go somewhere else. We can't. We don't have the manpower for it. So he didn't have anywhere to go. He had to try and find somewhere else where he could go and be safe. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way because everyone was shouting, "That's him! That's him! That's the guy who shot the other guy!" And blah, 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 blah. Which, by the way, I don't know if you ever heard this part of the story, but before what's his name? Joseph Rosenbaum, the pedo who got shot first, before he was treated by EMTs, Kyle actually performed first response CPR and attempted to save his life first. I don't know if you heard that or not, but he did. Kind of crazy for a guy that was just, in a murderous rage, that he would actually try to save the life of the guy he just shot when he was trying to take his fucking gun from him. But then we get to the last part of the altercation, where this mob that's following him down the street, acting intimidating, moving around and encircling him, holding up phones, and then, blindsiding him. There's, of course, skateboard guy who literally hits him upside the head with a fucking skateboard, which, by the way, that could have killed him. But it can certainly cause blunt force trauma to the head that could have resulted in permanent injury or some type of mental condition that could have been difficult, if not impossible, to treat. And they want to argue that he just got hit with a skateboard. I mean, who doesn't get hit in the head with a skateboard every once in a while? It just happens. Kids fight all the time. The excuses that these fucking pieces of garbage use is amazing. And then, ultimately, like I said last time, Gage Grosskreutz, who took the stand and actually sat there and thought that his little sob story was going to make a difference in the case, because, he put his hands up and acted like, oh, no, I'm not going to do anything. And then as soon as Kyle turned to direct his attention to somebody else who he thought was threatening. That's when that's when Gage decided, all right, he's looking somewhere else. I'm going to pull my gun out of my waist. Kyle, I swear, the dude, I know he should never have had to go through this kind of trauma, but for someone being judged on how they were able to act under pressure, I have to say that is like top notch level for someone like a civilian who's never been in a situation anywhere close to that before in his life, to find himself in a situation that intense and to handle himself with that much self-awareness and contextual awareness and awareness of all his surroundings. I mean, it's insane how well put together he was to be able to handle the situation that way. That is beyond amazing. But and Gage didn't get killed, and it is. I'm not saying it's good that guys got killed. I'm not saying that at all. But I will say this: if you go running around, a guy's got a rifle. He's telling you to stay back. He's trying to make sure that he can just get away. And if you're going to run up and jump kick him and hit him in the back of the head with a fucking skateboard, I'm sorry, you're kind of asking to get hurt at the bare minimum. I don't think you should, but I don't think you should be hurting Kyle. Did anybody ever think of Kyle in this situation? I know people that actually have some form of, morality and conscience do, but does anybody that constantly has to sympathize with only one side, and if you don't, then you're a traitor to something, who knows what? But yeah, that's what the Rittenhouse examples are just absurd. And so I got to play this clip first because this is Benny Thompson's analysis of the information that's come out in the last few days about the geez, now I can't even think of his name. Karmello Anthony, about the Karmello Anthony situation with the bail, with the money that was donated, and most importantly, one of the most despicable things in this discussion is the community of people, we'll just call them a community of people, that are supporting Karmello, and what they have to say in the comments and messages that they leave behind about this situation and why they are supporting Karmello Anthony. And it doesn't surprise me, obviously, because really, honestly, nothing they do surprises me anymore. But unfortunately, I mean, that's just the reality. And yeah, I mean, what can you do? You can basically denounce it, or you can say that this is, in the most strict terms possible, say that this doesn't represent Officer Tatum is in this clip, and it's an amazingly what's the word, I guess revealing is a good one, to hear him speak really candidly about his experience when he was younger and living in bad neighborhoods and living amongst people that were similar to people like this, that always need a scapegoat for all of their shortcomings. And in this case, once again, it has to be the system of white supremacy. Yeah, that's it. Because I see people every day that are white that are getting away with heinous murder. It's just, I don't get it. I don't get where they see. I mean, I'm sure they get told this, but at some point, don't you look for the evidence? Don't you look for the actual events that are being described to you, and look for some kind of proof that maybe, just maybe, that actually did happen? Or is it possible in some way that you just happen to have been hoodwinked in some way, shape, or form? Because that's unfortunately the sad truth behind exactly what's happening with the modern day race hustlers that always seem to just get their excitement up to peak levels when when something like this happens in the United States, because it doesn't matter what the event was or who got hurt. If they can turn it into a racial issue where they can bash white people, they're all over it. They're all over it. And it's just, yeah. You know, I was going to play this, and I probably will still play this. I couldn't believe it. It was recorded in 1984. Sung by a band called Minor Threat. If you've never heard of Minor Threat, they were one of the first American punk rock bands that really started making punk pretty, like, hardcore by comparison. Like, there was Dead Kennedys, and there was some Bad Brains, and some of the early, and then of course there was the UK punk rock scene, and then there was the Ramones. But the Ramones were so much more like a blend of punk rock and American rock and roll that it wasn't exactly the same. But Minor Threat in 1984 put out a song called "Guilty of Being White." I swear to God, it is so amazing that. What is that? 10, 20. Wait. 10, 20, 30. That's like 41 years ago. 41 years ago, they put out a song called Guilty of Being White. And it's just as relevant today, if not more so, than it was in 1984. So, anyway, I'm going to play this clip of Benny, why do I keep wanting to say Benny Johnson, not Benny Johnson, Benny Thompson. Or is it? Hang on a second. I can't believe I'm confused about this. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to pull the clip up, and I'm sure I'll find it there. Anyway, let me get this going. By the way, my system seems to be working now, so I don't think I'll have any more problems finding my videos because I made that new folder for the ones I need just for the day and can get them just fine. And I put them in there. I remembered, and anyway, that's just me showing off for not really accomplishing something that exciting. But for me, it's exciting. So that's all that matters. No, not really. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Now I forgot the folder with everything related to the show on it. I got it, though. All right. And it's this one right here and this one right here. Perfect. Hey, look at that. Okay. So once again, this is what's Officer Tatum, Brandon Tatum, who, if you're unfamiliar, he's got a great YouTube channel as well. He breaks down a lot of, he does a lot of work with Turning Point, and he breaks down a lot of discussions around culture, and since he's a former police officer and also a guy who is someone who came from, you know, really bad circumstances, he's a really solid voice for the community. So anyway, I'll play this clip first, and then I can't wait. We're going to get into the good stuff after this. So here we go. We'll go ahead and play this one, and it's only about I think it's, it's only about 4 minutes long. So we'll do that, and then we'll go over the main event for today. So here we go. Let's go with this one and break down some of this stuff, because this is some of the most egregious information, like I said, that's come out, and it's the most, as far as I know, up-to-date information. Okay. By the way, in case you hadn't noticed, my my new headphones, these are amazing headphones. I love them very much. However, I will say this. They are open back headphones, and they are quite loud. So I hope they don't come through that loud, because they might be picked up from a microphone. But let me try to turn the volume down a little bit just to try and make sure that doesn't happen. But I hope that doesn't bother anybody. Anyway, let's go with, man, that sucks. I had a decent showing. Anyway, although I did waste some time. So let me... Oh, yeah, we're ready. Okay. Oh, pull this up front. There we go. All right. Mm. Excuse me. One hell of a house there, isn't it? Good question. Yeah. Yeah. This is important. Oh wait. Okay. So once again, let's just parse this just real quick. His family's got to live. They just received $400,000, over $400,000, and the judge just lowered the bond to $250,000 from $1 million. Um, it- you know, if there was any ounce of goodwill, and if I expected any ounce of kind of, ever doing what was right from people who are so blatantly and constantly only concerned about their own self interest, um, I would expect that, they'd be like, thank you. We really appreciate all the donations, but we have more than enough than what we asked for. We have more than enough for our son's defense. Um, we're asking that no one need send money in at this time. We appreciate everything you did. Or instead, you could just go out and buy a big house, a new car, and some brand new Jordans for Carmello because that's what he needs too. He needs some new sneakers, and it's sick. Look at that idyllic American dream community. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? And here's where the real important story comes up. By the way, this is related to what I'm going to be talking about too. So look at that. That's so sad. That's so sad. Officer Tatum's about to lay down the law. Here we go. Yeah, man, and they want to relate that to Kyle Rittenhouse. It's insane. They want to relate that to every person they've demonized and every saint on their side that they've held up as a pillar of the community, like that Saint Michael Brown, who was the hands up don't shoot saint, or whatever else they would label him as. I can't help it. I did notice 2 episodes back when I did my discussion on the whole breakdown and dispute between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray, which, by the way, a few more things have come out about that, and I have a couple more things to say. I'll wait till the end of the episode to get on with that. It's not much, and I haven't really changed my opinion, but I did watch a couple things that I thought were really pathetic because, to be honest, I don't think even the people that say they agree with Douglas really get it. But anyway, I can't help it. I hope that this doesn't get me into the same kind of position where because what happened, as far as I can tell, is that I'll have to check again, but YouTube just kind of took down that segment. Now, I'm guessing it's because I played a whole clip of the Joe Rogan Experience, but I did stop and start it over and over and over again because I interjected with my opinion. And now, I don't know, as far as I knew, if you were providing commentary, that was fair use, but and I didn't play the whole Joe Rogan Experience episode, so I didn't even play that whole segment. But the clip they put up on YouTube with the bulk of the most important information I did. So anyway, I hope this doesn't get me into similar trouble, but the song is literally like 1 minute and 20 seconds long. So I don't think it's nearly as big of a issue, but just in case. Oh, geez. There was no volume during that whole thing. I am sorry, guys. Well, you got to see their faces and you got to hear my discussion over it. So I'm sorry. Jeez Louise. I don't want to waste any more time, though. You know what? I'll go ahead and even skip the song. I don't want to have anything. I don't want to have anything hold up what's coming up next. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the episode today, because this is what it's all about. I don't know how many of you out there are into. I'm really into forensic psychology. I'm really into interrogation techniques. I'm really into criminal psychology. I love watching breakdowns of body language and deception techniques. I love that kind of stuff, and it's just really interesting for me. So when I found this one channel I've been watching for a long time, this guy has to be like someone who is either, a law enforcement interrogator and damn good one, or at least knows the techniques used by law enforcement on a very, very deep technical level, because he provides a hell of a lot of context to the situations that he checks out. Now, he covers a lot of cases, and I try to watch everything that comes out, unless it's just really boring. But he somehow is able to really cut through the aspects that are really boring and all the aspects that are not essential, which many crime channels don't do, and only put forward information. Now, he doesn't just only focus on it, because he wants the audience to kind of be able to spot it on their own before he points out what's going on. And I got to say, it is helping me, because I'm starting to notice these things myself when I watch these types of interrogation clips. But there were 2 clips, or two videos back to back. Both of them were with guys that were claiming self-defense. One of them was just ludicrous. It was completely ludicrous and stupid, because he just he tried to say that, and both times it was a white guy that shot at either one or several black black men or kids, and killed at least one of them. In fact, I think in both they just killed one of them. Yeah, but they were especially that one. That was a horrific case. He was even lying to his fiancée about what happened. So this guy was a complete scumbag. This guy, however, he's a little more sly about it. I think he's just kind of dumb, actually. But, and here's the important part, he's immediately going for the self-defense narrative. I couldn't, but when I rewatched this, I brought this up when we first started talking about the Karmello Anthony case, because I remembered this case. I remembered his name was Mike or Michael or something. I couldn't remember the last name, but I remembered this clip from the channel. By the way, in case you don't know about him, his name is JCS, Jim Can't Swim. I highly recommend checking out his channel. He's got some really great forensic breakdown and what's it called? Interrogation footage breakdowns, including Chris Watts, including man, what's that? That crazy broad that put her boyfriend in a suitcase and rolled it around all over the house, and then left him there overnight, and he suffocated to death. There was a case of oh man, what's her name? Jodi Arias, the girl who was obsessed with her ex-boyfriend and like basically went ape shit on him. But this one is interesting. This one is one that I hadn't heard anything about until watching this video. But this is a case of a guy who is armed, and well, he kind of considers himself to be a protector of an area, almost, it seems like. Anyway, I don't want to reveal too much. I want to go through these step by step, and I want to relate them back to the Karmello Anthony situation. And I swear, look at how much is similar here. This is nuts. And when we get done, I have a very simple question. But this one is going to be a little bit longer because there's a lot of aspects to this that we're going to go over. But ultimately, what we're looking for here is, and in this case, they are going for negligent homicide or manslaughter. Now, at the end, the prosecution has a great closing. He's very, very good closing statement, but specifically, this prosecutor knows exactly how to break down this this narrative, and when you watch the interrogation footage, every hope this guy had of getting off the hook with a self-defense claim, he already kind of destroyed by the things that he said in the interrogation footage. And we'll go over that right now. So without further ado, finally, after all this time and all the screw-ups, let's go over the case of Michael Drake. And this time I'll make sure we have audio, don't worry. I say don't worry. I'll probably screw it up again. In fact, I'm still on this screen. Oh well, doesn't matter. Don't have anything to hide. Look, I'm playing Fatal Frame. Which one is this? Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Yeah, that's actually a really good game. Anyway, all right. We'll start with this one. Yeah, this is predominantly the interrogation footage, except for the very beginning. Now, bear in mind also that in the parking lot where this took place, there were cameras rolling throughout the entire incident, and they caught the whole thing on camera. That's another thing that was really bad for Michael Drake, because anything he claimed could be compared to the actual footage. And, well, we'll see how that plays out in just a second. So this is going to open with that footage from the security cameras on the premises, and then it'll move straight into the interrogation footage. So here we go.
So,
Oh, wait, no, it doesn't. Did I save that somewhere else? Hold on, I might have saved that somewhere else. Oh, I thought I did really good. It's here somewhere, though. Hold on. Let me. Let's see. Oh, I hope I didn't throw it. I could check my. What's this one? Okay, hold on just a second. I'm sorry. Don't tell me I screwed this up. If I did, it's all right. It's okay because I can actually still fix this because I have the clip in my recycling bin. I just need to, and I can just play the part with the security footage really quickly. I'm gonna make sure that we get that because it's important. It actually is really important to see the security footage, especially before the whole interrogation starts. So let me check this real quick. And where's my recycling bin? I need to start cleaning up my my second monitor's shortcuts. Where the hell is there it is. No, it's not there. Well, that's strange. How about in downloads? Oh, I'll bet you it's here. It would have been further back. Yep, here we go. Okay. All right. There we go. So, this is, give me just a second. I'm going to make sure I skip ahead to the surveillance footage and not, because there's an opening monologue and I don't want to have that part covered. But anyway, let's get into that right now. Okay. Sorry about this, you guys. I guess I accidentally deleted the segment with here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Perfect.
4 p.m. CCTV footage captured the entire incident.
Perfect. Oh, and by the way, what he's doing right here is he's checking. The lady is parked in. Now, this is the girlfriend of the guy who will be appearing in just a second. She is in a parking spot that is a handicap parking spot. And he's just walking around the car. He hasn't said anything to her. He claims that he didn't see her in the car, but he seems to have known that she was in the car because after he's done looking in the back and the front, he goes right to the driver's side window and starts yelling at it. So I'm not sure, how he missed that, but anyway, that's what he's doing in that footage, and he's already riled up. You can tell because he's got a bone to pick with people who park in handicapped spots. Believe me, I have a grandmother who has a hard time getting around. I know that's annoying. Not gonna do stupid shit like this though. But anyway, let's get to this. I just finally remembered the name of this guy too. Maurice McLaughlin. This is her boyfriend. That dude's a big dude, man. And that's what he did.
Following the shooting,
Okay, so real quick. Try to remember all of that sequence of events, because there's a lot you can glean just from that little segment of footage. And that's why self-defense cases hinge on things that normal cases of murder or homicide or even something like what would it be, like manslaughter or like they have details are more important in self-defense cases when it comes to guilt or innocence of the person who took someone's life. The officers and the investigating officers and the interrogating officers are going to really seriously have to pin down not just that he did it with an irrational belief, but that he did it knowingly, aware that it was irrational to believe that he was facing any kind of grievous bodily harm or imminent death, which are the two, basically the two standards by which you have to go by when people are assessing whether or not a self-defense claim is justified: egregious bodily harm or imminent death. So, and I can tell you, I think it's safe to say that you guys out there, as well as me, I don't think there's much argument to whether or not that holds water whatsoever. I would say that he got shoved to the ground and he was pissed off. That's just what I'd say. But let's see what happens next. Now I can go back to the actual. That was it. That was all. That was all I needed from the first clip. Now we can go back to the stuff I needed for this actual one. The actual rest of this video. So now we're going to jump into the interrogation footage, and this is where things really become clear.
So you guys are bickering back and forth. Next
He's talking
thing
about
you know,
with the
you get
girlfriend.
I'm pushed nothing, tackled. I'm
Okay.
blindsided, dude.
Okay.
I am on the ground hard.
So he shoved you pretty hard.
No, for what it felt like is he come running at me.
Okay, like full force.
Dude, I haven't been hit like that since I was in my 20s.
Now you saw
Okay.
how big that
Alright.
guy was, just real quick, and that obviously he has no idea what's going on. He sees some guy he doesn't recognize berating his girlfriend by the way, with their child in the car. Now, add all those facts together. Now, he wasn't charging. He very forcefully shoved him, don't get me wrong. But he's a big dude. Of course he forcefully shoved him. But the way he's describing it makes it sound like the guy was charging him like a fucking rabid bull. Like he had murderous intent immediately. And there's no way that anyone could watch the footage and believe that was the case. He looked like he was upset and he was confused what the hell was going on, and he wasn't going to let anybody disrespect his girlfriend. That's what it looks like to me. But the way he frames it, because once again, this will become clear later, but once again, it just seems like he's really aiming on like how hard this guy pushed him. So, and when they say like he pushed you, he always contests the word push. He has to use a word like tackled or charged, or something that has a lot more of a strong connotation of rage or intense anger. So, which I'm sure he was pretty pissed, but not to the point of completely losing control of his faculties. So, anyway, let's keep going.
So he shoves you to the ground. You fall to the ground.
Correct.
Okay.
Slightly dazed, not very, slightly.
Okay. Do you hit your head?
Don't know. Don't feel anything.
Okay.
Don't know.
So you don't know if
Definitely sideways like this. I know this landed under my gun. Okay, so I landed on my wrist, on my gun.
Okay.
Had to reach over to extract my hand.
To push yourself
To
back.
push myself up off of that. And as I'm reaching and pulling around, he's standing in front of me. As I come up, he's taking his step towards me.
Okay. Now let's discuss that. If
This
you
is
don't
very
mind,
important, actually,
could
right
you sit
here.
on the
This is
ground
very
real quick
important.
for me?
That's where I was.
I don't want you to hurt it.
No.
Okay.
We do.
So you're on the ground, right?
I'm on the ground like this.
Okay. How far is the guy away?
Front of the car.
He's at the front of the car?
Front of the
So he's on
car.
that sidewalk, kind of curved area.
No, he's in front of the car, off the sidewalk.
Okay, right on the edge.
You got it.
So how far do you think he's away from you?
I might have been right at the edge of the back of the front door.
Of the car?
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
So he's up by the front tire.
He's up by the front tires. No, further than that, man.
Further than this?
Further than that, man.
Okay.
I was back further. He had to be further than that.
This
Okay.
is bad already.
So he's
Listen
about
to
this far,
Yeah.
maybe even further.
And as I come up this way, because I have to come up off my hand, all right, I bring the gun out with me. And as I'm coming back this way, I can't support it. So I hit this.
Okay.
And as
What does he do?
as I come out like this, he's taking his step.
Okay.
He's taking his
a
step.
step?
Taking his steps towards me.
Okay.
So let's look at the footage.
Here we go. Here we go. This is some key points right here. Now notice he's not charging him.
The suspect is shoved to the ground as he described.
Not exactly, but more or less.
This is the moment he reaches for his gun. Marquise sees this and starts backing up.
Now you notice this. This is important. You notice how just the action of reaching down towards his waist immediately stopped him in his tracks. He recognized the motion. He recognized the motion that, this guy is reaching for something, and that stopped him. Now, whether it was out of concern for his girlfriend and his child, or whether it was out of concern for himself, doesn't matter. What matters is that subconsciously and instinctually he recognizes that motion and already knows, oh man, he's pulling out a weapon. Now that right away is a sign that any claim that you were facing grievous bodily harm or imminent death when the guy stopped dead in his tracks as soon as you started reaching for a weapon, that's going to pretty much destroy your entire case right there. But watch how much worse it gets now.
Marquise takes 3.5 steps back, and 2.5 seconds go by.
So he's actually turning away to go back into the convenience store when the gun comes out. The gun's fully out now, and he sees it, and he's like, hell no, I'm not gonna mess with this. And so he's turning, but the only reason he's even facing that direction is because he's staring at him and watching him with the gun. And he's most likely in fear that he's going to get shot. And so even though his body is turned to go back to the store and is not the idea that he's taking his step towards me, like, no, he's not. He's taking his step away from you. So anyway, my point is that this is just getting worse and worse. And this is what I mean. Like, we'll get to the Karmello Anthony thing very soon, because I'm guessing this is starting to help you guys understand where I'm going to be going with this. But, if he's actually going to try to claim self-defense, unless there is some major evidence we don't know about, which, by the way, if there was, we would know about it. So unless the impossible happened and the people who always protest every single aspect of every encounter with a black and white individual where someone gets hurt or killed, and lets every detail known that would hurt the white individual, unless this is just the outlier that doesn't do that. There's no way in hell that everyone associated with Karmello Anthony's case would have been shouting that from the treetops from the very start of the case. So what that tells me most likely is that what we've heard, while vague, are the broad strokes, and there's not much more other than that that is really relevant. So anyway, sorry, this is getting so close to the point and really revealing. And bear in mind too, this is someone who, right from the get-go, just like Karmello Anthony, immediately pled self-defense. So these are going to be, now this is in Florida as opposed to Texas, but considering this took place in 2015, I believe. So I don't think Florida was red, but not quite as red as it is now. But I mean, it probably wasn't too far off in laws, and I wouldn't say it's still too far off in laws. And their Second Amendment state, they're not going to be overly prosecutorial against someone should they have actual claim of self-defense that's legitimate. But you can tell how flimsy this is already, and you can tell by the way that the officers are asking the questions too, that this isn't looking good. So let's get back to it.
Breka then fires his weapon.
He actually manages.
How close does he get to you before you fire the gun?
Maybe to the front tire.
So show me where. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay, so right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Was he charging after you?
2 steps running.
Okay. Well, you're saying he was running?
Well, it would have been running when he got out of behind the car.
Okay. All right.
I gotta get both.
Okay. Yeah.
The
I
way
want you
he
to hurt
describes
yourself.
this is
You
What
so
did you think
strange.
then, Mike?
Say again,
What
bud?
did you think when that happened?
I've never been in that situation ever. I thought kicks were coming.
Okay.
So you thought he was gonna?
Here we
I
go.
thought kicks were
Here we
coming,
go.
or
That's where he
the
kind of
only time
steals
you
the
need
joke.
help.
I got it.
Okay.
Left arm's pretty far.
So you're thinking he's gonna come kick you?
I'm thinking he's coming to do the rest of it.
Did you see him with a firearm?
No, sir, I didn't see him with anything.
Okay. What do you mean the rest of it?
Whatever beating was coming after
Okay.
that.
He just asserted that he thought
Hang on just a second. This wasn't in the. I didn't put this in the clip, but he keeps repeating this line over and over again when he gets asked this question about what did you think was going to happen if you didn't fire your weapon, and he says something. I thought he was going to finish what he started. I thought he was going to come and finish the rest of it. I thought he uses these very vague statements to insinuate that somehow he believed that he was going to be, suddenly charged again, and like he mentioned the first time he charged or whatever, and that even though he's holding a gun and pointing it at him, that this guy is so irrationally angry that he doesn't care about the gun. He's going to come to finish the rest of it. Whatever that means, I guess in his mind means kill him. But, and here's the point. I'll let JCS finish the point.
kicks or a beating was coming. If he had spoken with a lawyer, he would have been advised to not only state, but put considerable emphasis on the fact that he believed that his life was in danger. He would have essentially been told to say that it was either his life or the attacker's, and that there wasn't a shred of doubt in his mind that he would have been killed had he not fired his weapon in self-defense. Even without the surveillance footage to refute his version of the altercation, these statements alone would be extremely damning in a court of law.
So you thought he?
So, I swear, I'll stop interrupting after this, but this is the last point. Now, that is the key point right there, and what separates this case from Karmello Anthony's case is, first off, excuse me, right from the bat, because the narrative of the altercation kind of came out already, of the statements "touch me and see what happens," which, by the way, is considered a provocation. So, and even in this case, Michael Drake didn't provoke. I forgot his name again. Damn it, Maurice McLaughlin. He didn't provoke him, or at least deliberately provoke him. He did accidentally provoke him by intentionally getting aggressive and getting up in the face of his girlfriend. But you know, once again, this goes down to the idea that that why would you be like, yeah, as I said before, it's fucked up when people park in handicap spots that aren't actually, you know, needing that handicap spot. But that's what law enforcement is for. That's what meter maids are for, even. So to consider yourself your own vigilante for handicap spots, you're already putting a pretty big risk on yourself, and something very damning comes out of that in just pretty soon from now. But anyway, I just had to get that part out because that was critical for that point. So here we go.
He's gonna beat you and stuff.
You're not kidding.
Okay, all right. So
If he can't hit me that hard to begin with from blindside from the get-go, what else should I expect?
okay, all right. So you're on the ground. You said he was running at you, but he only took like a step.
He would have if he had cleared that and come around towards me again with
Right.
that second foot.
Okay,
That
so he
would've
only
been
made one step.
He barely made the second step before I pulled the trigger.
Okay. What kind of gun you got?
Glock 23.
Okay.
Why do you think the guy's going to beat you?
Because I just got blindsided out of nowhere. Why? What else would I think?
Oh, I'm just asking.
Now, I've never been in that situation before. First thing I think, if I'm getting hit like that, somebody's coming at me for more.
That's a very bad thing to say,
Does it
too.
ever go through your mind that when you're going up and talking to these people and informing them of them being parked in a handicapped spot, that they might not take that right? That this might go sideways a little bit?
Well, sure, but that's why I take precautions as well.
Like what kind of precautions?
I'm a very careful person and I have a permit.
He has just stated that he was fully aware beforehand that a serious altercation could have arisen from his actions, and then justified these actions on the grounds that he was carrying a weapon. He has essentially just tried to condone the provocation of a potential violent encounter because he was protected, showing no consideration for the safety and well-being of others. It could be argued that he gave no thought to the potential harm said provocation could cause anyone apart from himself.
Oh, well,
So
ding, 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 right there. There it is. Just like with Karmello Anthony, he's only concerned about his own safety. He doesn't have any problem provoking somebody. He doesn't have any problem with taking actions that might be something normally people would be a little bit more hesitant, a little bit more concerned about doing if they analyzed the facts of the situation and thought, man, this could be taken pretty bad. At most, they might take down the guy's license plate number and try to, you know, put in a case about how this guy parked in a handicap spot. But to be so brazen as to get out of the car and wander from the front to the back and then back to the front, and then to say that, well, I did it because I'm a cautious person. And I have a permit, and so I'm carrying a weapon on me. Okay, so you're fine with putting yourself in risky situations because you know that if you feel threatened, you're armed. And once again, this is why the whole thing, because first of all, like I said with the provocation thing, this is even worse for Karmello Anthony because he openly provoked somebody knowing he had a weapon on him, a deadly weapon on him, and didn't show it to him until he stabbed him. And so this whole thing is a nightmare in the Karmello Anthony case because, once again, in this case, yeah, this guy's being an idiot. And he definitely deserves to go to prison for incredibly reckless behavior. But in Karmello Anthony's case, it's even worse because he wasn't waiting for there was no indication. People have talked about a certain type of, like, mentioned words like scuffle, mentioned words like but we need to hear something more solid than that. But even if there was some sort of physical altercation, that is not justified for the use of deadly force. Once again, unless somebody is attacking you in such a way that you genuinely believe that your life is in danger and you are at risk of death or serious bodily injury, you cannot escalate to deadly force, period. And you getting your ass whooped, you might be able to settle something in court and make some money, but you're not going to, depending on the situation, but you're not going to be able to justify the fact that because you got your ass whooped, you felt justified in using a deadly weapon to subdue the threat by fucking murdering him. And so this is really the point that I saw as key in the Karmello Anthony case, because once again, the provocation aspect, the aspect of having a weapon that was concealed, pulling the weapon out, and you can tell by the way in this case he had it out, he barely waited 3 seconds before he pulled the trigger. I think he convinced himself that he was in danger for who knows what reason. But whatever the reason is, he somehow, and sometimes that can fly for, even if it seems irrational, if a person seems like they genuinely believe that's the case, juries can take that into consideration. However, in cases where it's so far-fetched that just seems ridiculous, it would still be dismissed. So anyway, we'll get back to it now.
You guys are bickering back and forth.
Glock 23.
Okay.
Was that it?
Do you understand that? I mean, does it ever go through your mind that when you're going up and talking to these people and informing them of them being parked in a handicapped spot?
Take precautions as well.
Like what kind of precaution?
He has just stated that he was fully aware before he was carrying a weapon,
Oh,
counter,
right,
because
yeah.
he was protected,
Oh, yeah,
showing no
yeah.
consideration, no thought to part from himself.
Yeah, that was the end of it. I'm sorry. Okay. So, now that was bad. That's really bad. But we'll have the deal clincher here, and I'll just tell you right off the bat, this prosecutor is good. Like I said earlier on, this guy is good. And one thing that's important to note is he breaks down reasonable doubt. And that's one thing that is being argued, especially by Democrats right now. And, excuse me. Because legal terms are, Democrats love murkying up the waters as much as possible on legal terms. So, beyond reasonable doubt, this prosecutor lays out the case for reasonable doubt, and he does it in a really clever way. So, we'll get into this because this is the prosecution's closing statement. There's a few more bits of information that come out here, but mostly this is just a deeper analysis on law and around self-defense. So let me just bring this last clip up and we'll get into it. This will be where I'm not going to do a super long episode today. I know I've been going for a decent amount of time already, but we'll play this clip and discuss it a bit, and we'll close after that. So let's go ahead and go with this one. Here we go. Oh, no, don't tell me Actually, you know, it doesn't even really matter. Because I have a backup on this one anyway, so might take a second to get it, but okay, so I did screw up because unfortunately, I remember what happened. Oh, no, I do have it. Hey, sweet, here we go. Yeah, this is it. It's about 5 minutes, so, okay. See? Huh? Okay. Now we can go over this one, and like I said, this is a really interesting and, man, a vicious takedown. So anyway, here we go.
What we have to do as the state of Florida is prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that defendant committed the crime of manslaughter. Now, what is a reasonable doubt? Here is a story that I tell in closing arguments. Admittedly, it might sound silly, but it's to demonstrate what is and what is not a reasonable doubt. So let's say that you're walking your dog at night, and it's Florida, of course, and you hear some thunder, you see some lightning, you smell the rain, you go to bed. You wake up, water everywhere, okay? Beyond a reasonable doubt, it's been proven that it rained. Now, is it possible that a helicopter went over the neighborhood, go into some forest fire, dump the bucket of water over the neighborhood? Is it possible the sun's not going to rise, okay? But that's not reasonable based on the evidence. The evidence is there was thunder, there was lightning, the smell of rain. When you look at all that, it's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt that it rained. And one of the most important things that you do not leave when you come into a courtroom is your common sense.
This is a brilliant
So
way to
common
break
sense
down
tells you
this
that it
conflict.
rained. Now, can you speculate this? So let's say that you have some kids in the neighborhood. Let's say there's 3 kids. You got Allison, you got Alyssa, and you got Timmy. Okay? And Timmy's the terrible one in the neighborhood, and he has the super soaker gun, and he likes to spray that super soaker gun everywhere. Now, can you speculate that he took that super soaker gun, went all around the neighborhood when you were sleeping, and sprayed water everywhere? Well, sure, because you can speculate about anything. But is that reasonable based on the evidence? Thunder, lightning, smell of rain? Absolutely not. That's not reasonable. So when you look at the evidence, now the evidence in this case came from that witness stand, and it's from all the exhibits up there. When you look at all of that, we've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that that defendant is guilty of manslaughter. To prove the crime of manslaughter, the state must prove the following 2 elements beyond a reasonable doubt. Number 1, Marquise McLaughlin is dead. No issue with that. Unfortunately, number 2, Michael Draka intentionally committed an act that caused the death of Marquise McLaughlin. Okay? So, did he intentionally shoot him? Yes. The way this case has been framed for you is whether or not this defendant was justified in shooting Marquise McLaughlin. But I'm going to...
That is so important. Now, I don't know if the law is exactly the same in Texas, but I would assume it's probably pretty close. And that right there is so critical because regardless of whether the person dies or not, it's not about the damage caused. It's about your judgment in the situation and why you made the decision to escalate to deadly force. For what reason? And in particular, would you know ahead of time that those actions could potentially lead to someone being killed? That is the key question there. And so I highly suspect that what he just described Michael Draka's attorneys of attempting to do in his case, of framing this idea that there was some sort of justification to believe that that there was a reason for him to use deadly force. That part goes to intent, but that doesn't meet the standard for manslaughter, because in this case, a man is dead. That's an important fact. I've talked about how I have a family member who was in prison for a very significant amount of time. Now, I'm familiar with manslaughter, and that is not obviously not a light sentence. That's a very heavy duty sentence. Not to the level of murder, but still very intense sentence to be handed down, or judgment to be handed down, adjudication, whatever. But the key point is that in a situation where there's an altercation, if you escalate the situation to deadly force, knowing that your actions could result in the death of another individual, maybe not even the person that you're trying to get off of you. You know, if there's bystanders nearby or who knows what. But that is the key element. And like I said, I don't know for sure in Texas, but I would imagine it's probably pretty similar, because these are the things that are important. And most people do recognize that, you know, unintended or not, you cause the death of another individual. Sorry, you are responsible for the death of a human being, and you need to be punished for it. So, and you know, Karmello Anthony's little defense claim is even weaker than Michael Drake's. He admits right off the bat that he was in the wrong seat. The guy told him to leave. He says, touch me and see what happens. Like I said, there's provocation. There is use of, the knowledge that you're armed with a weapon and it's a deadly weapon, and that the person you're speaking to, that you're provoking, is not aware of that fact. And so the idea that if he reached in to try and forcefully remove him from the tent, that is reasonable to believe that was an escalation that could justify the use of deadly force is so fucking preposterous that any normal jury would immediately just laugh it out of the courtroom. I mean, maybe not quite that much, but I mean, it would take them maybe 30 minutes of deliberation to be like, yeah, we know what happened. Because, and no, it's not because the judicial system is systemically racist. No, isn't it not systemically racist? It's because that's the law. And once again, as I discuss this, just think about this. The way they talk about Karmello Anthony, if they want to roll with this, they're going to have to go back and look at this case and be like, yeah, man, we shouldn't have convicted that guy of manslaughter, because, man, you know, obviously he was feeling threatened. He shouldn't have been. Of course, they wouldn't do that because, look, I don't think Michael Drake is innocent. I think he got the punishment he's going to get, and he deserved it. But I don't apply different standards based on race and the perception of a judgmental bias system with no evidence of that, when the only time anyone in this country pays hyper-focused attention to a case is when it involves a black and a white individual, and one of the two is killed. One way or another, that's going to be national news story, and people are going to come out and start using all the same ridiculous nonsense words that they keep using every time there's anything happens. If a white guy talks to a black guy, it's probably based on racism, I'm sure, because that's how ridiculously cheap the word is now. They've destroyed the word. They've destroyed the concept. They've made it such an absolute ridiculous joke. People dismiss it before they even hear evidence about racism at this point. And it doesn't surprise me. I would not be surprised in the slightest. Now, that's not to say there's proof of racism at all in this case with Austin Metcalf, but that's to say that I didn't play this segment, but Benny Thompson has talked about all the people on social media after they had, you know, donated to the like I mentioned, Kyle Rittenhouse. They are so openly hostile and make mention of how white people are just getting their comeuppance, and white people are getting payback, and white people are getting. I'm sorry, what? I mean, okay, you are so obsessed with your narrative that there's never a punishment too great for the entirety of white people on the planet, I guess. that they pay in some way, either by, physically getting their ass whooped, murdered, or have to pay some reparations, their other favorite words, because it's never enough, and it never will be enough. And it's like I heard one time some guy ask, okay, how about we institute reparations, but we end, this was before the decision, but we end affirmative action. And no, we can't do that. Okay, so you want both. And it's just like, once again, it's never enough for a group of people that never went through a period of time where they were slaves. They never, almost everyone that argues it has never been alive during Jim Crow. I mean, it's literally the most, I mean, they are so quick to just self-pity and just wallowing in their own nonstop focus on feeling sorry for themselves constantly and passing the buck and blaming everybody else. And the people in the community that are actually forward thinkers, that are independent minded, that are strong-willed and have the determination to go somewhere are the kind of people that are absolutely successful and are an inspiration to not just Black Americans, every American. And it's insane because it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that only part of the community values hard work over excuse making. It's completely wrong. And I hate to see it because it just destroys not just this country's race relations, but our system of laws, the way those laws are interpreted, the way that cops perform their job. They blame cops for everything in their community. The reason that their communities are all torn up is because cops don't dare go into their communities, because if they do, they'll be accused of murder, even if they stop a murder. I'll never forget the guy that stopped that girl who happened to be Black, and the girl that was literally about to gut her with a giant kitchen knife was also Black, and he had no time to speak. He had no time to interject. He was too far away to physically restrain. He had no choice but to use deadly force in that scenario. No choice. People ask, why don't you use a taser? There's no guarantee that a taser would move fast enough and would react strongly enough. Not to mention, if you know how tasers work, both prongs have to hit the skin and then they have to pierce the skin to be able to complete the circuit so that a taser will have the effect. So the only way to make sure that a Black girl didn't get her gut sliced open by a massive kitchen knife was to shoot the person holding the giant kitchen knife. And what did they do? They demonized the officer for saving the life of an innocent Black woman. It's like, when is it going to be enough? When is it going to be a point where you can just say, maybe there is some good intention there. Maybe they are trying their best to protect the innocent people in the community. Because I'll tell you right now, somebody who is about to lunge forward, literally, the momentum is all the way back, and it's about to be all the way forward. She's backed up all the way against a car. She's got nowhere to go. She's holding a puppy. I mean, it's the most cliched sort of sympathetic position someone could be in, backed into a corner holding a puppy dog, and some absolute sociopath with a freaking butcher's knife is coming in to stab her in the gut. And you have it was LeBron James, yeah, puts the officers, because we got to dox them, puts the officer's photo out, and probably I think put his name out and put a picture of him saying, "You're next," underneath his photo. Like, yeah, I'm sure that's what I'm sure he's driving around communities just looking for Black people to just shoot. That's exactly what he's doing. He didn't do that because, you know, she was holding a fucking knife that was so prevalent. It was about as big as her freaking head in the photo. I mean, so once again, it's not in their best interest. It's not in America's best interest. It's not in the best interest of law enforcement or anybody else in the country. And I'm sorry, I'm going way off tangent. We'll get back to this clips now. Let's just finish this up. Because that was a really good point, and I wanted to drive it home, and I got off on a tear. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get to this.
Frame it a little differently, because based on the evidence, and really here's the million-dollar question. We've heard so much evidence, okay? But here's the million-dollar question you need to ask yourself. Was this defendant justified in shooting a man that came out to protect his family while he's retreating, while he was unarmed? That's the million-dollar question. It was the most perfect shot he could take. Hit him right here, traveled through his lung, through his heart, rested on the other side. The most perfect shot he could take.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that before. I didn't even notice that before. There's another similarity. I mean, you know, it's not like it's like a pivotal point, but that's interesting that when he shot him, where did it go? It went through the heart. Where did Austin Metcalf get stabbed? In the heart. It's pretty interesting. The reason he's bringing it up, obviously, is that for someone who just got shoved and supposedly was blindsided so hard he was really confused and disoriented, he sure pulled off one hell of a perfect shot that was in just the right spot to immediately assure that this guy probably isn't going to live. And especially from the position on the ground, other than a headshot, you know, there's not many other places you could shoot that would pretty much guarantee death in that situation. But and I'm not saying he even intended to. It could have just been an accidental, lucky or unlucky shot, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But in this case, I never noticed that before, and I had to point that out because, man, the similarities are so incredible.
Knee, calf, thigh, stomach, the most perfect shot. Did he reasonably believe, as Marquise McLaughlin was backing up and turning to go into the store, that he was about to die? Because that's what that instruction says. Did the defendant reasonably believe he was going to die as Michael McLaughlin backs away when that firearm comes out?
Once again, too, you think
did the defendant reasonably believe he was about to suffer great bodily harm? Was he about to be beaten to a pulp as Michael McLaughlin went backwards? Was he about to die? Was this defendant about to die or be beaten to a pulp when he took the first step back? Absolutely not. What about the second step back? Absolutely not. He's getting farther back. What about the third step back? Absolutely not. What about when he turns to go to the store? Absolutely not. And when you look at those still photographs, you'll see that Michael McLaughlin's foot is facing where he wants to go. And the only reason his eyes are on that defendant is because he's looking at the firearm that's about to kill him.
Yep, that was what I was talking about earlier.
His entire body is saying, I give up, I'm leaving. And pay attention to this, which I'm sure you already have. When the defendant's on the ground, you could see both Robert Castelli
I forgot to point this out.
and Michael McLaughlin start to move before the gun comes out. They both simultaneously recognize that he's pulling a fire.
That was what I was talking about before. You see how he's reaching into his waist area? I forgot to mention that there was a witness there too, and look at where he's standing. He can see the whole thing, and even he is like, oh! And it's right there in that moment. I mean, cameras don't lie, as they say. So there it is right there. And anybody is going to recognize that. I mean, I know what I would think if I saw that action. So, I mean, once again, this is so amazingly on point because, once again, as the prosecutor was just saying, you think that, gosh, why am I having such a hard time remembering his name today? I don't know why. Jeez. Mr. Anthony. Do you think he actually believed that when Austin Metcalf was attempting to pull him out of the tent, that was a sign that he was going to pull him out and then, pull out his own knife and gut him or something? When, once again, he knows he has a weapon on him. He knows he has a knife on him. He may be unaware, but he probably relatively assumes that this guy doesn't have a knife. Why? Because it's a freaking track meet at a high school. I think he probably reasonably suspects that, yeah, this guy doesn't have a knife on him, I'm sure. And even if he did, even if he believed that, and the guy is not pulling it out and using it, and is instead trying to use his own physical force to physically remove, I don't even know if that happened or not. But even if he did, that's not raising the bar up to the level of reasonably believing that you are about to be killed. It's just preposterous. So that's why, and this was exactly what I was talking about. Instinctually, they know exactly what's happening. So,
and before that gun is even out, Michael McLaughlin is retreating. Watch the video, you'll see it. And when the gun's out, he's in full retreat, and he can't go back any farther because that car's there, and that's when he takes his turn to go to the store. That's exactly what you see on the video. Michael McLaughlin is reacting perfectly to what happened. Now, can you argue that the defendant could have pulled out that firearm? Absolutely. We could even say that he was justified in pulling the gun.
And the same thing can be said in the case of... Okay, hold on. Why can't I remember his name? That's driving me crazy now. Actually, you know what? I'll just look here. Karmello. Jeez, I don't know how I forgot that. Anyway, sorry. I want to remember that name. Similarly, once again, you think that if Karmello Anthony had pulled out the knife, that Austin Metcalf would have been insistent on getting his seat in his tent? I'm pretty sure he wouldn't. I'm pretty sure he would have immediately stopped and taken off. But that wasn't, for some reason, what Karmello Anthony really wanted out of the situation. I don't know why, but I can tell you what I know is true based on that. I can tell he wasn't in fear for his life if that was what he believed, because if he believed that even with the sight of a knife in his hand, that Austin Metcalf was going to attempt to harm him or kill him in some way that was extremely vicious, so that it would be at the bare minimum causing extreme grievous bodily harm. If he believed that, then there's no reason in the world why, if he pulls out his knife, that Austin Metcalf is not going to meet him with his own deadly force. Now, you can try to argue the idea that well, maybe he would have pulled it out. If he would have pulled it out first, that would be a problem. That means he is the aggressor in that situation, and here is where the situation goes off the rails for the defense. You can't be the aggressor. You can't be the one who instigates the conflict and then claim self-defense unless there's some really, really, extremely compromising circumstances for the prosecution about some kind of threat that was made during the day that was really serious or something like that. Like if there's some really serious evidence that there was a premeditated plot to specifically go after this guy, when as far as everything we can tell, they had no idea who each other were. They never met. They didn't know each other. They didn't even go to the same school. And yet, it was not at all within Karmello Anthony's mindset to just pull the knife on the guy and say, get the fuck out of here, leave me alone, whatever. If he wanted his damn seat so bad, okay, fine. If you're going to use a knife to protect it, I think he would have left. But once again, and these are all things that the prosecution is going to have to, or not the defense is going to have to explain. Like, why didn't he just do that? Same way, why didn't Michael Draca just point his gun at him instead of actually shooting him as he's in retreat? Same thing. So, we'll finish now. And then I'll just make my closing statement myself.
That was it. There was no reason for him to shoot and kill Michael McLaughlin. It was over when that gun came out.
Yep.
So arguably, was he right in pulling the gun out? Sure, but could he have killed him? No, because he wasn't about to die. He's holding a firearm. He's holding the weapon that ends the whole thing.
Exactly.
How could he reasonably believe he was about to die? He didn't. That's why it's not justifiable use of deadly force. You know what Marquise McLaughlin's guilty of? He's guilty of loving and trying to protect his family. And he died because of it. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter.
So, after that journey, and like I said, as I was watching this, and I was going over it, I was just kind of like stunned by every single fact coming out. So I would just say this. If the defense wants to pull this, and all his little supporters who are screaming racism want to go over this, which I can guarantee you, show them this case and see how much they scream, oh, what a racist, he shot him. Really? So, how is it that you support Karmello Anthony then? What are you talking about? Well, don't you notice some striking similarities here in their behavior? No, his life was in danger. Yeah, oh, okay, all right. So was Michael Draca's life in danger? I would love to hear somebody try to explain their way out of that one. Because all you have to do is just look at this case. This is it. This is the prototype case for exactly what we would expect and we should expect would be the outcome of the case for Karmello Anthony. Because everything mentioned here can, in this, especially in that closing argument, can apply directly to Karmello Anthony with one alteration, which is it was a knife, not a gun. And that's it. So, that'll do it for me for today, guys. Thank you so much. I hope that you found that. I'm sorry if I played that up a lot, but man, it's one of those things where, the hypocrisy lately has just been off the charts. Donald Trump created a constitutional crisis because he's not following Supreme Court precedent, apparently, even though he actually is. They're supposed to facilitate the return of someone if El Salvador deems that he needs to be returned. That doesn't mean that the Trump administration is forced to go seeking it out and forcing them to release him and then bring him back to the country. That means that if El Salvador deems this individual is not suitable, is not legally allowed to remain in this country, the Trump administration is responsible under the Supreme Court's decision for facilitating his return, meaning providing him with transportation to return back to the country. So they're bullshitting on that, but let's say even they were telling the truth. I didn't hear this outrage when Biden was ordered not to be giving, student loan debts back with taxpayer fucking dollars. I didn't hear any outrage about a constitutional crisis because of that. And that's even crazier because guess what? The power of the purse lies in Congress, not in the executive. So where was the anger? Where was the outrage? Where was the calls of destroying our democracy? Everything out of their mouth is bullshit. People are getting seriously hurt and killed now. If you happen to hear in the last couple of days after the trial of the guy who brutally murdered and raped Rachel Morin, if you heard any of the details about how absolutely brutally graphic that murder was, once again, these people don't care about us. The people they're importing don't care about us. They don't care about American citizens. They don't care about Americans that were from other countries and went through the process the correct way and became legal American citizens. They don't care about any of that. They care about people that are going to be in debt to them and therefore can be exploited for a vote for the Democrat Party and can help them redistrict the states so that they'll have better chances of winning more seats in the House and more electoral college votes. And it's so transparently obvious, but somebody has got to put their foot down and say enough is enough. And Trump's doing that, but man, it's really becoming apparent, and it's obvious. There's a few, and I've talked about this before. There's a few, but Congress is so absolutely just it's not even a shell of what it was supposed to be. It's a hollowed out, very thin layered, crusty, dried, shed skin of its former self. I mean, there's nothing left that even resembles what Congress was supposed to be in the Constitution. And it's just sad because, one reason it operates that way is because when you watch the votes and you watch the way that they handle it, Democrats and their hive mind that wouldn't dare cross someone with more power than them, even though they'd love to stab them in the back, I'm sure, have to go along with it and have to vote. Otherwise, they won't advance themselves in the Democrat Party. Meanwhile, the Republicans, who, yes, are fortunate enough to be able to have debates within their own party, but if there was a time when you needed to minimize that as much as possible, I know that sucks. I wouldn't want that to happen. But here's my overall thinking, is that if you want to get to a point where we all can have those debates amongst not just our own party, but with the other party, and actually even consider the ideas, because once again, Chuck Schumer is just, celebrating that we hired a bunch of partisan judges to stop Trump. And just openly saying it on television in front of everybody. Because he doesn't care, because he knows that's what the job has become of congressmen. Push a partisan party line vote for everything and anything that you're asked to push, and you'll be given a pat on the head and a cookie and be told you're a good boy, and we may just consider you for something bigger next time. It is just it's a charade, and it's a disgrace. And until it's going to take one thing, because I watched this stuff, and I would hope that at some point, Democrat voters, if they really were serious and really were curious and wondering why it is their party is so fucked up right now, just watch a few sessions of Congress and watch what they argue. Watch how they treat witnesses, like the parents of murdered children from illegal gang members. Watch how demeaning they are. Watch how they talk to them like they're not intelligent enough to understand the nuances of immigration policy. I'm sorry. Fuck you. I don't care. I care that my child was killed, you piece of shit. And I'm sorry, I'm getting too worked up, so I better stop there. But this was so important that I thought, because I know, Jim Can't Swim is actually a fairly large channel, but for people to make that connection, like I knew nobody's gonna look at this, and I hope people can look at this. I hope people check this video out maybe and get the idea. I don't care. Don't credit me. Just talk about this. Somebody bring this case up. Talk about it. Make sure that people know this case happened, what happened in the case, and the arguments from the defense and the prosecution, and relate that back to Karmello Anthony and Austin Metcalf, and dare them to mention a point where there's a serious difference in the argument the defense makes and what the result was. So that's the biggest point, is that if this is their defense, they're walking into a losing battle under any circumstance, unless we've got an incredibly crooked judge, an intimidated jury, or any of the other tactics the left has used to fuck over the judicial system in the last 6, 7, 8 years. And we can't keep watching this happen over and over again and not waking people up to the fact that this is not how things are supposed to be, period. So there's my rant. I'm done. I'm sorry for the extra long rant, but this was a big one for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll try to be back tomorrow. I have some stuff to go over like I talked about today, so hopefully I'll be on. I do have some kind of bigger things going on tomorrow, so it's possible I won't, but I'll try to make it on at least for a short episode. So I'll see what I can do. But if not, I'll see you next time I possibly can. But and I'll make sure I let you guys know when that's going to be. So until next time, take care of yourselves. Have a great night, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Now, I can't read it. There's no words on it. Okay. There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out. What is? I don't know what that means. To play us out. What does that mean? To end the show? Yeah. All right, go.